You probably saw on Instagram where I posted a picture of these earrings. And every time I post a picture of these, there's always a lot of questions about how to get this effect, how to make this. And what's interesting is it's actually not that difficult. It's really very straightforward. Just as an overview, all I have done here is I have thinned some clay, and in this case I used Primo. I thinned the Primo with some liquid clay, and then I spread it and layered it with a knife. And that's really all there is to it. It's sort of an impasto technique. But I wanted to give you a little bit more detail about how to do it. It's a very flexible technique. You really can't screw it up. So it's a lot of fun. It can be pretty messy, but it's enjoyable, and you have a lot of different varieties that you can make. So some overview. I like to start with the primary colors. The reason why I'm doing that is I love the way that the colors overlap. So when you have blue and yellow overlapping, you get the green. And when you have the blue and the magenta overlapping, you get the purple. So you get standard color mixing from your primary colors. So the standard primary colors, now I'm going to put a link in the description to an article. It's an article in Insiders, which is a private community, but I'm going to go ahead and make it public. Send a link, put a link in there so that you can see it, because the information is really useful here. It talks about the different primaries and different brands of clay. But if you have Primo, what's usually considered to be the primary colors in Primo is zinc yellow hue, cobalt blue, and fuchsia. And this gives you your CMY primaries. Now, this is only part of the kinds of primaries that I use. Personally, I also use a warm yellow, which is cadmium yellow. I use a warm red, which is pomegranate. And I also use a cool blue, which is ultramarine blue. And sometimes I like to use turquoise. So these are the base colors that I'm using. Now, you don't have to use just primary colors. If you wanted to overlay, let's say, a tan and a brown and a green, you can have an earth tone. That might be interesting as well. So this is just one way of doing it to get this interesting painterly effect. Now, the way I've done these is I've thinned the clay with liquid clay. I have spread it on a base sheet, and for the base sheet I use white. The reason why I'm using white is because it allows the colors to bounce back up into your eye, and that intensifies the colors here. You wouldn't want to use black clay as your base clay, because the color would just swallow into the black and you wouldn't see these beautiful colors bouncing back. So I'm using white. If you were using earth tones, I don't see any reason why you couldn't use a light beige, something like that. It doesn't have to be this stark white, but it's convenient and easy to do. So the way that I mix the clay is start with a ceramic tile. So handy. You should always have ceramic tiles. And start with a little piece of clay. I use a palette knife. This is just an inexpensive palette knife. I tried to get a fairly stiff one. I didn't get one that's super flexible, but I got a palette knife. You could use you could also use a popsicle stick, probably something from the kitchen, a butter knife maybe. And I'm just spreading it on here just to basically condition it. I'm actually not mixing anything yet. Oops, got some blue in there. And then I want to add some liquid clay. You can use any brand of liquid clay. I like using Cernit glue because it is a very runny liquid clay. It's not sticky. It just flows easily. But you could use like Kato liquid or Sculpey liquid. It's a good way to use up if you have some old liquid clay that you're not that interested in using because you don't like it. Use some to to do this. And then just mix it up. And this is going to take a while. It's going to take some elbow grease. It's going to take some time. And I'm not going to bore you, but you get the idea. And you just keep mixing it until it is uniform. It's going to take a while. This is not fast. This is not neat. But you get the idea, okay? Just keep adding liquid clay until it is the softness that you want. And that, my friends, is how you make the paint. All right? And see how you see how it's moving in there pretty quickly now. And I could even add even more. But I want to keep doing this until it's quite smooth. You don't want it too choppy. All right. So I'm going to set this aside because now you know the basics, the basic gist. I'm going to clean my knife with a baby wipe just so that, because I'll be using it again here in a minute. Alrighty then. Here is a palette that I made a long time ago of already softened clay. So I've mixed the different primaries, and I've mixed some of the primaries together to form secondaries, like the green and the purple and the orange, just so that I can get a range of colors. So I'll set that to the side. Next, I take a sheet of white Primo. Now, because you will be covering the top of it, look to see if there's any flaws in your clay or any little hairs or something. Put that part up because you're going to cover it anyway. That way the back is as clean as you can possibly make it. And then I'm a big fan of always trimming my sheets because I don't want to have extra clay that I can't use. I like to keep my white as pristine as possible, my pure colors as pristine as possible. So just a sheet of Primo. And by the way, it doesn't really matter how thick you make it. If you're going to be putting a lot of really thick clay on, then you're going to want it to be thinner. I put this on a 3. That's a good place to start. And then get some of the softened clay and spread it on. And just start spreading and having fun however you want to do it. And just like anything, clean your knife between colors. And I'm going to get some blue here. And if this has been sitting for a while, like these have been, you might want to kind of condition it a bit, softening it up a bit. This one's quite stiff. I would probably want to soften that a bit, but just for now. See how the colors are smearing? I could add some yellow and some orange in here. However you like to do it. This is completely just for fun. If you dig into the white too much, you can see I picked up a little bit of the white there. If you dig into it, then the white will come up. You'll smear the white into it. That's no problem. You can always just cover it up. If you see something you don't like, feel free to scoop it out. This is very forgiving. Do whatever you would like. It doesn't, there's really no way to go wrong here. And keep in mind that the rules of color mixing apply. So if you are going to mix red and green, you're going to get brown. You're going to get a murky color. See how that's like army green right there? It's not going to be good colors. If you put yellow and purple together, you're going to have the same problem. Always remember, opposites on the color wheel make mud. So here's some yellow. And if I'm going to put some purple across there, see how it murkied it, made it kind of murky. On the other hand, that might be exactly what you want. So I'm not giving this a whole lot of thought. I'm just smearing colors. When I've done this for reals, I specifically chose colors in a certain way to make it look a certain way. Here, I applied the colors in stripes so that when I cut them, they were rainbow. But anyway, you get the idea. And then when you're done, you see the way you like, you like what you see, then use a cutter. By the way, Hoberian, those are really great cutters. And maybe, anyway, you get the idea. So that is how to do this technique. Have fun.